You know it's bad when I don't know how many times now I've read from Professor Timothy Snyder. I believe he's a Yale professor. He wrote this little pamphlet, little tiny book it's called On Tyranny. 20 lessons from the 20th century. He wrote this before Donald Trump took office the first time, because he saw what was on the horizon. And in the very first chapter, it says, do not obey in advance. I'm going to read this one paragraph. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. Anticipatory obedience is something we should strive to not provide Donald Trump as he tramples the constitutional order of the country. And that is exactly what, in this particular case, PBS did. Public Broadcasting Service. PBS NewsHour, PBS. They ended their DEI program back in February, the beginning of February. And I believe it's to avoid what took place yesterday. So they bent the knee. They jumped into the lap like a little lapdog for Donald Trump, ending their DEI program, shuttering the office that ran DEI, and firing the employees, while sending out a statement that said, but everybody's still welcome, PBS. I'm going to read from this NPR article about PBS ending DEI, and then I'm going to read a little bit from Donald Trump's declaration that they're not going to give any more money, federal support, to public broadcasting. This is the headline from NPR. PBS shutters DEI office. Again, this is from February 11th, 2025. PBS is shuttering its diversity, equity, and inclusion office after President Trump last month issued executive orders aimed at curtailing DEI workplace initiatives. Quote, in order to best ensure we are in compliance with the president's executive order around diversity, equity, and inclusion, we have closed our DEI office, the public broadcaster said in a statement shared with NPR via email. Quote, the staff members who served in that office are leaving PBS. We will continue to adhere to our mission and values. PBS will continue to reflect all of America and remain a welcoming place for everyone. Unless you worked in the DEI office, in which case you're shit canned, says PBS. Now look, before I get to the announcement from Donald Trump via executive order or presidential memorandum, I want to highlight that PBS does a good job. Even though they don't do as good a job as they did prior to Donald Trump's second administration, they still do a good job. It's okay. I think yesterday or the day before, they had that dipshit white supremacist Chris Rufo on, which never would have been the case before. They're not asking for expert opinion from this dipshit. Certainly that wouldn't have been what they did before. But still, on the whole, pretty good, right? So bending the knee, one, they bent the knee relative to DEI. They also bent the knee on the manner with which they provide the news. This is from the White House, ending taxpayer subsidization of biased media by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. It is hereby ordered, it is hereby ordered by the convicted felon that he's going to see that the laws of the United States are followed. Section 1, purpose. The National Public Radio and Public Broadcasting Service receive taxpayer funds through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Unlike in 1967 when the CBP was established, today the media landscape is filled with abundant, diverse, and innovative news options. Government funding of news media in this environment is not only outdated and unnecessary, but corrosive to the appearance of journalistic independence. Something that Donald Trump's very concerned about, journalistic independence. That's why his goofy press secretary hosts press briefings with the new media MAGA outlets. Yesterday they had Jack Posobiec, the fucking Pizzagate conspiracy theorist, asking questions. He's had Mike Cernovich, the other Pizzagate conspiracy dipshit, in there asking questions of the White House press briefing. He doesn't give a shit about journalistic independence. At the very least, Americans have the right to expect if their tax dollars fund public broadcasting at all, they fund only fair, accurate, unbiased, and nonpartisan news coverage. Again, because that's what Donald Trump cares about, unbiased news coverage. No media outlet has the constitutional right to taxpayer subsidies, and the government is entitled to determine which categories of activities to subsidize. Let me read a little bit about the budget for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This is from their financial information page. By statute, more than 70% of CBP's annual federal appropriation goes directly to more than 1,500 local public media stations, and less than 5% is allocated to CBP administrative costs. That seems like a good use of very little money, in my opinion. That 5% isn't going to like fat cat executive salaries. Most of this money, the vast majority, goes to local PBS stations in your community. And there is a return on investment. I'm going to jump around here. Public media in the United States is an efficient public-private partnership that delivers a strong return on the taxpayer's investment. For every public dollar provided, stations raise nearly $7. For every public dollar provided, stations raise nearly $7 from donors, including state and local governments, universities, businesses, foundations, and individual viewers and listeners, underscoring their value to the communities they serve. That is some ROI, right? But this is where the other money is. CBP, community service grants, make up just 10.6% of the average television station's total revenue and 6% of the average public radio station's revenue. The CBP appropriation as a percentage of the station's total revenue is 12.9%. Not a massive amount of money, but these are dollars well spent. This is good coverage, decent coverage. But it doesn't align with the values of our white supremacist administration led by Donald Trump. So they're going to punish them. All because of DEI, all because of white supremacy and racism and misogyny and bigotry. That is what predicated this. What do you think? Am I being too hard on PBS for preemptively bending the knee to Donald Trump? I'd love to know. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I'm going to go. I see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.